Hello and welcome back to my channel, Complicated Relationships Reddit Stories. Hope you guys are safe and healthy. Now let's see what the story is about today. This is the story about how I discovered a video of my wife of 7 years with another man and how it felt like I was watching a different woman and not my wife. In the video, she was just amazing. Now let's listen to the story. Also, please like my video and subscribe to the channel.
My wife and I had a very good married life together, or so I thought. No financial worries, a terrific 4-year-old son, and a good life with the exceptions that I often expressed a desire to try new things and get more creative overall as a couple. We were attentive with each other, had date nights, remembered important anniversaries, etc. But with the loss of one of her beloved aunts and increased work responsibilities, she'd suddenly begun wondering if maybe she'd lost her identity and independence somewhere over the years while becoming a mom and a career woman. I told her I was sorry she felt that way and asked if I could help her find herself. Her reply was that someone as confident as I was couldn't possibly understand what she was going through. Then, about a year ago, I discovered my wife was seeing someone else. She had been acting unusually distant and started bathing instead of showering so she could text on the phone. She said it was with a girlfriend. She also had started working out, losing weight, new haircut, new clothes, etc. Plenty of red flags and enough to convince me to investigate. She said that she needed to decompress from being a working mom and was going to visit an old girlfriend. I helped her pack and left a love note in her suitcase to let her know that I'd miss her and loved her. I hoped that I was imagining things and was mistaken. I couldn't believe that she would betray me that way. Nonetheless, I checked the mileage on her car and noticed a huge discrepancy in the miles needed to get to her girlfriend's and back. This was troubling since she had told me that she had driven straight there. With this revelation, I decided to place a keylogger on her laptop. What I discovered left me crippled. I discovered that she had met an old boyfriend on Facebook a few months prior and had an emotional affair which quickly became physical. I was also able to access her cell phone when she was in the shower and copied her conversations with him. She evidently had been obliging him with his favorite fantasies to keep him interested and excited. I discovered some videos he had sent her along with text messages discussing their plans for their next meetup. He would follow up and send her a love song that reminded him of her, followed by how much he cared about her, etc.
Now, what strangely hurt OP initially was how willingly she wants to try new things with this man.
When confronted, initially, she denied everything. Told me how angry she was that I was accusing her and how I was being paranoid. So, I showed her my evidence. She was plainly stunned and shaken. She began to sob and mumble something about how she was so sorry and that was something that had just happened. I'll admit, I was really angry, verbally let her have it, and called her every name I could think of. Then, exhausted, I just sat down and wept. I had plenty of chances to cheat over the years and never took the bait. I simply loved her too much and would never have risked the good thing we had. For her, betrayal was easier. But I was also sure from reading her AP's texts that he was plainly using her to fill the void in his own marital life. My wife quickly responded with a resounding no to that idea. She was convinced that he loved her, would give it all up eventually for her, and would stand by her even now. So, I challenged her to call him up, put him on speakerphone, and, while acting like it was just another casual call, point-blank confirm her belief by asking him if he truly was in love with her and would come get her right now because things had gone south and I had discovered the affair. As expected, the coward went immediately into damage control. He told her that he did care about her, but that he felt uncomfortable with the words "in love." He said what they had was good while it lasted, but it would be best if they got back to focusing on their own marriages. He followed up with a kind of stuttered, "I'm sorry," and begged her to not tell me who or where he was. Though still beyond angry, I could help but almost feel sorry for my wife when I saw the look of total despair and abandonment on her face from realizing that this man had told her anything to get her to become his personal. Worse, I think, was that she knew that she had done so much willingly. And even worse still was the fact that I had seen exactly how she had been with him, and also had heard the things she had said during her encounters, including the loving remarks that hurt me to my core. Before he hung up on her, I picked up the other line and told him to call me on my mobile, and if he didn't, I would immediately share all I had at my disposal with every friend, coworker, and family member. In short, I would expose him entirely. He called. He was frantic and obviously worried. He begged me to reconsider, to think of his wife and child. In that desperate moment, I asked him several questions about the relationship.
Now, this man was so afraid and shaken that he willingly verified other things that OP had suspected but had not had proof of. Things like hotel visits, dates, number of times they met, etc. Never once suspecting that the whole time OP was recording the conversation.
For a moment, I could tell that he thought I'd relax a bit and maybe just decide to move on. But I assured him that I understood that my wife had betrayed me, that it was not all his fault. Nevertheless, the fact remained that he had interfered in my marriage. He initiated the contact. He started the relationship in motion and was more in control of his emotions. In short, he fully knew what he was doing. He used and manipulated my wife for his own deficits at home. Yes, she had been emotional and stupid, but he had been calculating, and when he came to that crossroad of decisions, he had chosen to interject himself into my marriage, my life. And for that, there would be no reconsideration, no mercy from me to him. I told him that I would tell his wife. So, in time, I did. Suffice it to say that, when it was over, everyone in his life knew what a waste of human flesh he was. In seeking justice, I notified his wife. She experienced the same devastation I had. The next day, when her head was clearer, she sent me the rest of his videos she'd discovered, copies of texts, etc., and I sent her what I had. My curiosity and hunger to learn everything I could about what happened to me prevailed over the ill feelings I had about watching my wife's videos. The videos were like watching a different person. When I discussed it with her, she claimed she had forgotten acting like that and felt like she had been someone else during the filming, saying he'd promised to delete them after viewing them once and thought the video had been destroyed on his end. Oops. I asked her why she'd never been like that with me, and she said it was because she had enjoyed our intimacy more and had done all the crazy things, as she called it, because she just wanted so badly to be better than his significant other, and that the challenge of it excited something inside her more than she had ever expected it to. She admitted to being ashamed, embarrassed, and regretful. She begged me not to leave her and to work on our marriage. We sought counseling. I didn't want to throw years of building a life together away without trying.
Well, in the years since, the wife has worked hard to make their marriage her top priority.
She constantly does whatever it takes to be transparent and account for her time. She knows that I even now sometimes need her to drop everything and reassure me when something triggers the movies in my head. However, as much as I've forgiven her and deeply love this woman, I will never forget those videos and how she treated him in them. How she gave more of herself to him than to me. She says she's depressed over not being able to recreate the same level in our marriage for us. She claims it was because the relationship was new, exciting, and what we have is much deeper and satisfying, but less exciting because we are not novel to each other. She says she's sorry that I feel that her AP was treated better than I was, even now. What she doesn't seem to grasp is that for most men, I think that physical love is huge in our relationships with our lover and wives, and when another male is given so much more access, it can be nearly insurmountable in that it will always leave us feeling like we are number two, since number one, the AP, was given so much more. Especially if, as she says, nothing like it can be recreated for me. So, it's back to normal like before, albeit with all her love and affection, or at least, that's her take on it. My question is this: how on earth am I ever going to get these images out of my head? On one hand, I'm glad I watched the videos because my imagination would have been far worse. Nonetheless, the images persist, though not as often as they did in the beginning. Edit: I told her that the marital contract between us had essentially been broken, and under no obligation that I keep my end of a now tainted agreement. I put her on notice that I'd be willing to work on our marriage, but that we would have to rewrite the terms of our relationship so that I would want the same experiences as her. At first, she was heartbroken that I'd consider it, but said she knew she'd be a hypocrite if she denied me the same things she enjoyed. So, I arranged through a site called Friend Finder to meet up with a few women. I told my wife that she could come if she wanted, but that I would otherwise do it despite any of her concerns. Unexpectedly, she came along, but things didn't go well. I could see my wife quietly tearing up as she excused herself. After the deed, I hung out with my partner for a few more minutes before telling her goodbye. I met my wife later at our parked car, and all she would say is that it bothered her, but said that she knew she deserved what she witnessed. This went on for a few more times before I thought she finally had some clarification into what I was undergoing post-D-Day. We had a long talk, and I offered an open relationship, no questions asked. After a week of thinking about it, she said that she'd rather just work on repairing our relationship together. She kissed me, we had lots of fun, if you know what I mean. That was years ago, and she's never mentioned my proposition ever since. Not once.
End of the story. Before we go, let's listen to a comment by the user Set Timers for 6 minutes. Hey OP, you're not going to get it out of your mind because deep down you know she would have instantly left you if the other man agreed to leave his wife during that call. We all make mistakes, of course, but things like this are so calculated. She got caught and the entire fantasy blew up in her face. She was rejected and was humiliated. Now she is settling, and once she finds another charmer, the cycle will repeat. Why do it to yourself again? OP's reply, you are right, she would have left. She admitted to that fact, but she also concluded that she would have just regretted it the minute the fog was lifted and the fantasy became reality. Then the AP would have to stand in my world and suffer for it by comparison because no way was he capable of excelling at the long game of a relationship, the very thing she would have demanded from him. He simply benefited from being at the right place at the right moment of her weakest emotional stage. Remove him from the equation and replace with another, the outcome would have been the same, and my wife knows it. I believe that's why she has done everything in her power to make me happy except the back door with me. She knows she was chasing a false fantasy life and now sees how great she had it after all. In order to keep the fantasy alive, she had to suspend her aversion to the back door and become someone other than herself. I still love her, am trying to move past it, now she is more understanding of herself and also of life. Who's to say that if I left her and found another woman, that the same thing wouldn't happen? At least here, we have already faced the affair demon and dealing with it the best way we can for now. That concludes today's story. Please like, comment and share the video if you enjoyed it. Also, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you will be notified when we upload the next video. Take care.